That was the first part of my life where I realized how much I matter to God. Outside of everything, everybody always told me, God loves you, God loves you. I'm like, yeah, cool, but... And that's what actually brought me to Christ. That's the reason I'm here. In a weird way, God used my dad's death to bring me life. Family, what up? It's your boy Legin. I hope you're well. Welcome to the Legin Podcast, and thank you for being here with me. If you missed it, about a week and a half ago, we did a live version of the podcast, live audience. It was great. No worries, though. We're going to throw that episode up so you can still catch it, and we may do it again in the future. Your story matters, that theme. We passed the mic around, talked to some people, had a good conversation. So I hope it's encouraging for you that your story matters. Now, the way this night happened is my man Josh Williams, who's behind the camera for this whole podcast, filmed it, produced it, and made it happen. I want to lift him up, and if you need any camera work done, I want you to holler at my homie Josh Williams. And also Dusty Booth, who came by with Media Booth VA. He's a co-director on my documentaries coming soon. These two fellas do all of my work, Josh Williams and Dusty. They're a powerhouse team, but check them both out. If you need some work, man, holler at my boys. Also, we're a member of the NRT Podcast Network. Very proud of that. Thank you, NRT, for having us. And a couple of folks have made this night even possible. Centura College, Aviation Institute of Maintenance, Tidewater Tech, a family of colleges that sponsored this night. They serve people and giving them new career paths and trade and all that type of stuff. Check out all these schools for medical billing, massage therapy, learning how to fix planes in the aviation field, and then also HVAC, fixing cars, all that type of stuff. These schools handle all of that. If you need any help, you want to change your life, change your career path, they're there for you. And big shout out to Chick-fil-A, Broad Creek Crossing in Norfolk, Virginia, because the chicken's banging, always, but they also come through and sponsor the show because they believe in what we're doing and saying your story matters. So thank you to those guys as well. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy this bonus episode of the Legin Podcast. So right now, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna get started. I'm gonna bring up my co-hosts. Y'all make some noise for Trevor Lucas, King Louis III. Y'all make some noise for Trevor Lucas, normally our studio. King Louis, what they call him. King Louis, what they call him. Hey, y'all make some more noise for my homeboy, baritone J.B. Harris. Baritone J.B. Harris. Huh? I mean, I think we got a couch. We supposed to sit down. I just was standing up because it felt awkward to sit down by myself. So I gotta make some noise for JB because he's strolling up here. You know what I mean? That ain't a grand entrance. You know what I'm saying? Me and Jay done been to Africa together. We done traveled the world. We've been to the UK and Africa. All of my dangerous overseas trips have been with JB. And Trevor, stop. Don't stop. Don't start with the old man grunts on the couch. Have y'all seen this man's work around Norfolk? Has anybody seen his professional graffiti art around Norfolk? My man is painting the city, right? He's killing it.
Yes, he is. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, man, y'all engage the crowd and tell them about yourself and tell them what's up.
You JB, me? Okay. I'm Trevor Lucas of Anomaly Art Studio and a few other things. I paint pictures for a living, and I get on my wife's nerves for a hobby. And
hey, man, she
not
got
just about me here. But that's about it. There's a few other things, but you can find that out later.
My name is J.B. Harrison. Just a regular guy. I got a job. I got kids. I got 5 of them. I got a wife. 2 of my kids is here tonight.
Hey.
I know Nigel for a minute. Me and Tia are best friends.
Love it. Cap.
That's it.
Super cap. Super cap. But so one of the cool things that we had the privilege to do is, I'll tell a story another time, but I'm working on a documentary, and we did an early screening here in this room. And about 100 and some people showed up. It was really cool. And so we were asking questions at the end of the documentary, and somebody had asked me a question about why was it important. I can't remember the exact question. And I responded with, well, the reason why I'm telling my story in this documentary, I have a hard time telling my story. Still to this day, we have a whole theme, your story matters, and I still struggle with doing that for a bunch of reasons. But I was like, the reason why I'm pushing through that and making this movie and telling my story is not because I want to get famous or because I blah, 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 blah. It's because I really understood that my story matters and what I've been through matters, regardless of how I feel about it. Regardless of how I'm processing it at that moment, regardless of if life is good or sucks at that moment, if regardless my thoughts about God are correct at that moment, my story absolutely matters because I believe God's a part of it. That must mean it means something. And I wanted to tell that story to inspire somebody else that matters on the other side of that screen. That's why I hope it gets out there, not because of all these other vain reasons, but because I hope somebody, when they forget, as I did at one point, that my story matters, that I hope I'll remind them that their story matters and they should keep pushing, they should keep going. And we did a whole bunch of stuff that night, but that moment, what I just explained was really like a 30-second clip. That moment was the one I got all the text messages about, and people started hitting us up about, like, bro, I had people literally say, bro, I never had anybody tell me that my story mattered. And it was mind-blowing to me, even though I get it, because there are days when I struggle to believe it too. So I got it. And so that's why when we started, we were like, we should do a podcast. These conversations we have, we just need to just throw these up. We were like, what should we talk about? What should the theme be for the season? And it was Your Story Matters. Like, I think it's over there. I keep pointing to it. I'm pointing to the wrong screen, sorry. But I think it's Your Story Matters seems to be the theme. That seems to be the reoccurring thought. And we've been getting text messages and DMs that resonates. Like, you've been getting feedback that it was helpful, right?
Absolutely, all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like such a simple thing, you know, because we out here living every day. You would think that people know that how they're living, what they've been through matters, but a lot of people don't feel like that, man. They feel like, you know what, hey, don't talk about me, man, I'm good, you know. People want to be passed by, but honestly, it's a lot of stuff that people go through that other people are going through. You may be embarrassed about it, but honestly, if you speak up and say, this happened to me, you may wake somebody else up that be like, yo, me too, bro. Can you tell me how you got out of that? You know what I mean? So it makes a big difference when people know that they're not alone. So that's simply what that is.
You just had a situation like that the other day, right? When you were saying,
I have that all the time.
yeah, because I think, because we was at the Union Mission joint.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. I was at the Union Mission, and we were just talking about, I've been in a Union Mission twice. This is a situation when you weren't here. And I was just telling them a little bit about what happened to me. If you guys don't know, I had a drug issue when I was young. My mother died, there was sexual abuse, there was all types of things that took place. And as men, the sexual abuse piece is something that we don't want to touch that. Matter of fact, some of them that you talk to about, they can't speak it. They'll just say, yo, what you said, you know, that I went through that too. They have a hard time speaking it. But either way, I was telling them about my drug addiction and all this good stuff. And when I left, one of the guys, and this was the time I went before you, came to me and was like, bro, I went through the same thing, man. Like, can you take my number? You know, and this is a grown man, kids, you know, for real, he looked like somebody that you really wouldn't want to mess with. You know what I'm saying? But bro, hurting inside. So me just saying that made him feel comfortable enough to talk. And I talked to him on the phone and everything. And it turned into a good situation. And I think I need to check back in on him. But either way, it turned into a situation where he softened his heart and was able to tell a little bit about himself. And I think that helped free him a little bit. But it's an ongoing process.
Jay, question. When did you understand that your story mattered? Like, what was the point in life when you was like, yo, early on, like, goals, dreams, I'm gonna do this, or I'm at, like, when did you start? Because I think we all had that moment, like nod your head if you have, when you start to feel like these childhood dreams, like, oh, I'm gonna go do this, and this matters in life, and I can be this, and, you know, I matter. And, like, what was a moment for you when you felt like your story mattered? Like, what was that for you?
I think for me, it was when I realized and I saw how many people I was hurting. And so for those that may not know, you know, my situation, my story, I was married before. And I was married before my wife died. And right after she died, like, I went into depression, suicidal thoughts, just that whole thing. And at the time I had a son. And so it was to the point where I really I could care for him, but I couldn't pray for him. You know, for me, it got to the point I felt like God did not hear me anymore. And so if you haven't caught the podcast, my wife was in the hospital, and what happened was she had to have a second heart transplant. And so during that heart transplant, she has a lot of complications. And so, you know, every night or all the time I'm praying, God, take care of her, do this, do that, do this. But then every time I turn around, I'm getting a call from the hospital. The doctors are saying, you know, it's one thing, it's another, it's always something. And so for me, it got to the point to where I didn't feel like God heard me anymore. So to me, I'm like, well, what's the point of me praying? Why I keep asking him? He's not listening to me anymore. And so my mom called me one day. She's like, baby, and I said, Mom, look, I'm not praying no more because God not listening to me. He don't hear me. I'm going to need you to pray for me. I'm going to need you and everybody else to pray because at this point, I don't know what it is. And so after that, after she passed, for me, I was mad at God for a long time. And, you know, it's one thing to be mad at your homeboy or your ex-husband, your friend, your ex, whatever. It's a whole different story being mad at God. And so for me, eventually it got to the place, and my wife now, Talisha, she's right there. Hey, babe.
Make some noise for T. Make some noise for T.
It got to the place where she was like, look, you got to get yourself together. And I'm like, you know, I ain't really trying to hear that.
She ain't said that nice, though.
Yeah, she knows she did. But anyways, but it was true. I had to get to the place to where, because I knew where I came from. I had to get back to actually I needed to get further along than where I was. So I had to get my relationship right with God, so that way I could get my relationship right with everything else. And so once that realization came, then from there, it was just things just kind of took off. You know, you talked about forgiveness. Once again, it's that thing, like, I had to get to the place to where I wanted to go back and had a conversation with God, that it got to the place where I knew that he heard my voice. Because for so long, it was like, man, he ain't fooling with me, you know, none of that. And so it got to the point, I didn't want to have a conversation with him either. People start talking about God, I was like, yeah, all right, cool, yeah. So I had to get back to that place to where, one, that I had to get that relationship right. I had to. And I had to do it not just for myself, but I have a family. I got kids. You know, I joke, I got 5. Now we have 5 kids. And in order to be able to handle them 5 kids, you gotta have the Lord in your life, man. You know what I mean? Like you got to. And so for me, in order just to you know, get the household together and all of those things, I had to get that relationship right. And so for me, I don't know when exactly outside of my wife, like you're going to get it together. But outside of that, I can't necessarily pinpoint it. But at the end of the day, I knew it had to happen. And we made that thing work, bro.
Hey, man, clap that up. That's good stuff, man. Clap that up. Sound like that moment was teeth. That's what it sound like. It's like that one conversation. Trev, what about you, brother?
You know, man, I think mine was around 2019. I have a habit of, if things happen, I keep it moving. Oh, it happened? You know, what I'm gonna do about it? Keep moving. So I did that all my life. I'll keep working, just keep on going. But what I didn't realize, if you don't deal with this stuff, it's still there. You know, you may have kept moving and worked through it and acted like, you know, I'm over it, but if you didn't deal with it, it's still there. So 2019, I got to a point where that stuff started catching up with me. Memories of things that happened in my childhood, in my past, started coming back. And when they started coming back, I think the one that really hit me was the abuse piece, the sexual abuse piece, because I remembered who did it. My mind, when I ended up having to go to a psychiatrist, and they ended up telling me that when you are, because I was, when I say physically abused, it wasn't like just whoopings. It was like electrocutions. It was like getting beat with wet ropes, put on your knees on dry rice, like stuff like that. I could be a psycho today. Then there was sexual abuse. So when that happens before you're at age 7, they told me that you become fragmented. Your mind, to protect itself, it starts to compartmentalize things, so you'll forget it. But in 2019, it came back, and I wanted to kill somebody. Like literally, I wanted to go get on a plane. I was planning it in my head, and I stopped myself like, bro, nah, you tripping, that's not you. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta go talk to somebody. So I went to the psychiatrist and we started digging stuff up. We talking about things that I never visited. I kind of left it locked away. But after that, you know, when I started digging it up, the emotions of it and having to sit and think about it all, and you got to deal with that, and you can't deal with that yourself. So I needed God a lot more at that time, because at that point, I started to realize the gravity of the stuff that happened to me. And then I started to realize, through talking to other family members, it happened to some of them too. So I'm a protector. I want to make sure my family's straight. You know, I'm making calls. I'm trying to see who did what. So at that point, I'm thinking about my life in a whole different perspective. Before it was hustle, gain, got to do what I got to do to take care of my bills. I'm not thinking about the stuff happened. I have this warrior spirit. We're going to go ahead and fight through it. But bro, you got to deal with that stuff. So in 2019, I was faced with everything that I went through, and I had to deal with it. I didn't want to go back to the psychiatrist because I felt like, bro, if you dig up more of this stuff, it may change who I am. I'm a good, happy-go-lucky guy, but I wanted to kill somebody last week. So I was afraid of digging that stuff up. But in digging it up, I realized that all those things that happened and the fact that I made it through 100% of that, that's got to mean something. And then I just started recently telling my story about it. And when I started telling my story, I started to see how many other people have been through that and how much of an impact, just me telling them, I went through that and I got through that. When I seen how big that was, just like you said, every time I tell it, it's rough. But I push through it because I know it's necessary, not just to free me, but to free other people that may have been through it. So 2019 was my moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he just good memory, man.
Huh?
That's good memory. 2019. You remember
Well,
that?
I mean, I know it because I went to a psychiatrist, I got the receipt.
The bill.
Yeah. You don't forget those things.
Got the copay.
Yeah, I got the receipts.
I had if this too personal, don't answer, but JB was saying how you realized the people that you were hurting, and you elaborated on that a little bit. In 2019, you said happy-go-lucky guy.
Yeah.
You and Van have been together, like 20 years, right?
Now we've been together 20 years.
So,
Yep.
so you were together when this happened. In 2019,
Yeah.
you go through this, and this stuff comes up, and you change, and like you went from happy-go-lucky to I want to kill somebody this week. Mm-hmm. When you digging all that stuff up,
Yeah.
what was that like for you and Van dealing with that together? Like, how did y'all work through that season?
Bro, you know, Van, her love language is the support. What do you call it when you supporting folks and making sure they straight?
I call it supporting folks and making sure they're straight.
She's a supporting folks to make sure they're straight. So when that happened, Van kind of pressed in, and she would, you need to go up there and talk to them people. You know what I mean?
Aggressive
Set
support.
your appointment.
It's aggressive support.
Right, aggressive support is her love language. So she just pressed in to make sure that a man was straight. You know what I mean? I was crazy before 2019 came. She was aware of that, but she didn't want me to get crazier. So she pushed me to go there. So I think we got tighter around that time because she knew I needed some support, and she gave me that. And
crazy.
I can't ask for nothing more than that. And you know, COVID rolled in around that time too. There's a lot going on. We tight, man. That's my own girl. That's my wife, and that's my confidant. She made sure I was straight.
That's beautiful. Y'all make some noise for Van.
Van dude. Ay. She tried to help me out a little earlier. You know, I got on a white shirt and I was eating some chicken nuggets and got some Polynesia sauce on my chest.
Go ahead, show it for the cameras.
Hey,
Y'all see
crazy,
that?
man.
Hold on, matter of
I'm
fact.
trying to get on stage and talk to people, and the cameras, real good cameras, and I got sauce.
Got me a nugget right
Too much.
here, man. Let me go ahead.
Too much sauce. There you go. It had a little bit left. There you go.
I told you if you showed it off, I was gonna do that.
You just keep nuggets in your pocket?
I mean, just, you never know when you need a backup meal, some backup protein now.
Yeah.
I'm chewing, so I
Hey,
should
y'all
be on
don't
the mic.
judge me, man.
Hey, man, I judged you already. That's why I pulled the nugget up.
I ain't have a shout.
You got the fresh whites and Polynesian. You can't risk that, man. You know
Yeah,
Chick-fil-A,
sinner, man.
Chick-fil-A dangerous. But I had a whole nother point to get to, and this messed me all the way up.
Oh, that's still nugget. Just bless you up.
It's still delicious. I wanted to turn the mic to y'all and ask, was there a moment in anybody's life in here that you realized your story mattered or questioned if it still did? You realized your story mattered or you questioned if it still did? While you're thinking about that, I'm gonna keep on going. But if you just say, man, I got something to say, throw your hand up, and my brother Joel's gonna bring the mic to you, all right? I wanna hear from you in a second. I think for me, man, so the stories that you heard, JB shared that story in detail on episode 3, if you wanna go back and check it out. Trevor and I shared in detail our stories in episode 1 about, just kind of what we've been through. But I got two. My story is just really briefly, I still got this nugget like in the right cheek right here. Stop it. I know I get wordy. So anyway, long story short, my father was absent from my life, drugs, alcohol, whole shebang. And around the age of 20, he popped up and he wanted the opportunity to apologize for what he'd done and being absent in my life. And I met him at Virginia Beach for the first time since I was 5 years old. And we had a really good dinner. And at the end of that dinner, he asked, is there any way that you would forgive me for what I've done? And I told him, I'll never forgive you for what you've done to me. I'll never forgive you. I sent him back to D.C. He was in D.C. the whole time, 3.5 hours away. Couldn't drive to Virginia Beach to see his boy. I was waiting for this opportunity to hurt him back. So at the age of, after he did that, he went home. He would call me, hey, man, can we talk? I cuss him out and hang up the phone. I was just enjoying getting a chance to reject him for a change. What up, Cap? I didn't know you was here. What's up, big dog? I get distracted quick. And give me a chance to finish this nugget. But so it took about 6 months after that. I was selling insurance. A lady walked into my office and she said, hey, I don't know why I'm here, but God told me to come in here and tell you that if you don't get that bitterness out of your heart, you'll never make it in the kingdom of heaven.
You never talked to this lady before?
No, I don't know who she was. I still don't know who she was this day. I still want to send her an angry DM if I can find who she was. It was really rude. It's a horrible message. Messed up my whole day. So, and just for context, I grew up in church and all that. I just, at this time of my life, I ain't care about it. I walked away. I'm doing what I want to do. I ain't care about Jesus. I ain't care about none of it. And so that was like a punch in the gut. Like, I don't really rock with this anymore, but that's still scary. I heard some stories, right? And so 3 months after that, I did call my dad. And I said, Dad, look, I'm gonna let it go. I forgive you. I love you. Let's figure this out. Like, let's go on. And it was a moment where you could feel chains fall off of his shoulders and you could feel them fall. I felt them fall off mine too. It was a beautiful moment. We talked about next conversation, let's plan on getting together, all that type of stuff. But what I didn't know is that was actually going to be our last phone call. Like right after that phone call, he passed away. And we never spoke again. And it wasn't some health crisis that I knew of because we was talking about getting together. But we just never talked again. So our literal last conversation is, I forgive you. And so I was stuck with 3 questions, similar to JB. Like, okay, so there's no way. God obviously is not real. He's obviously not real because this is random. There's no plan in this. Like this can't be God. 2, God is real and he's mean because why would you bring him back just to take him away again? Now, what type of games are you playing if you are in control? Or 3, God is real and he really cares about forgiveness and reconciliation and fixing broken things and giving you a chance to get it right over and over again. And I said, man, if God cared about me so much that he would orchestrate this story to give me one last phone call, then that's the God I need in my life. I said, maybe the God my grandma been telling me about, my mom been telling me about, my granddad showed me. Maybe he is really there and I give up. Because if you're you, I give you my whole life. And that's what brought me to Christ. And realizing that part that God would orchestrate my story that much because I mattered that much to him, that he wanted me to have that moment. And I very well could have thrown it away. I could have not made that last phone call. I could have held on to my bitterness, and that would have been 100% within my power to do. I believe there's certain areas where God is going to allow your free will to take you places. So, but the fact that he would orchestrate those pieces to get my attention, it said that, man, my story must matter to him. And that was the first part of my life where I realized how much I matter to God. Outside of everything everybody had always told me, God loves you, God loves you. I'm like, yeah, cool, but that's when I realized how much I mattered to God. And that's what changed. And that's what actually brought me to Christ. That's the reason I'm here in a weird way. God used my dad's death to bring me life. So that's when I realized it for me. So yeah.
He did do the that was the shortened version.
I don't know.
Huh?
He ain't never told that one.
Oh yeah. Hey, hey, look.
Nah.
Don't forget to take that nugget out your pocket though before you put that jacket.
The crazy part is when you started talking, I just had my final swallow of what was over here.
I was struggling with that shit right here. I think we got somebody, G.
Huh? Hey, what's up, brother?
Yeah. So for me, it was crazy, kind of like your story. It was more like I remember the exact year, and it's almost like kind of. It wasn't so much about my story, but it's more of that reconciliation, that super huge change with God. So kind of like you, I grew up in church. My brother and I we both grew up in church the whole time. Got saved at a really, really young age. So we knew God. Our dad also wasn't. It's not that he was physically absent; it's that he was emotionally absent. And then kind of acted a lot of ways, kind of terrorized my brother and my mom and I in a lot of ways. So it's one of those, you never actually hit anybody, but made you always feel like you would. 2018, I graduated from law school, so I'm an attorney now. Yeah.
Congratulations, bro. I didn't know that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yo, I bought that. Keep people out of those bars. 2018 was the year that I graduated. And so, you take the bar exam, but it takes several months to get your results back, right? So, because they test everybody in the state at the same time. So, while I'm doing that, I have a job for the school. I'm recruiting people, come to law school, et cetera, et cetera. God starts working. It's funny because almost like a tragedy. He used a hurricane to kind of get me to stop and realize all the junk that I had in my life still. Like as a grown person, as somebody who's known God for all their life, like I had a whole mess of junk that I didn't realize was in me. God starts revealing all this stuff, like you have hatred in your heart towards your brother, literally, towards your mom, towards me. You're full of the flesh. You're full of all this junk that you don't want to admit is in you.
Wow.
No, you really, you don't understand. My biggest question was what, in the Bible, it consistently says in the whole New Testament, we have all these things, we are all these things in Christ, right? We are children of God in Christ. We are the righteousness of God in Christ, right? You have all this stuff in Christ. And I was like, why has it got to be through Christ? Why am I not good enough? Yeah, that's the point. He's it. I'm not. And that's the whole thing, and it was.
But you were struggling with that at the time.
Absolutely. And
Gotcha.
so it was this, long story short, this whole thing where God kind of turned me around and he delivered me. I can go on a whole story on this, but the point is he delivered me out of a whole lot of stuff I didn't realize that I needed to be delivered from. I am a whole different person than I was 5 years ago. And that's only because God pointed out and he took the time, kind of like with your story. He took the time to say, whoa, I want to take this stuff out because I want to save you.
Yeah, that's good, bro. That's good, man. You went through the process. I tell you what's crazy. Yeah, Cap, we got you next. Two things on that that came to mind when you was talking was one. First of all, thank you for sharing that, bro. That was brave. I appreciate you just coming out with that. But the two things with that that's interesting is a lot of people, like you said, people feel the pressure for their story to be complete, wrapped up with a pretty bow in it before they want to share it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, anybody ever felt that pressure? Like, I don't want to tell this part of my life until I mastered it, fixed it, till God. You never felt that?
Still writing the story.
Yeah, so like, a lot of people feel the pressure of like, I can't tell this until because you don't want to put yourself on a pedestal to be embarrassed because you haven't reached the finish line. Yeah. You know what I mean? And actually telling the messy parts of the story while it's happening gives somebody hope that, like, bro, if you're brave enough to go through it right now and you still pressing on, maybe I can one day get to the point where I press on like you. And so it's really good that you're able to share that piece while you're in process and while you're going through it. And then the other piece too, man, that comes to mind is with our stories, a trend that I notice with myself and other people is the desire to play struggle wars. What I mean by that is oh man, I ain't been through what you've been through, so I don't need to tell my story because yours is harder than mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And feeling like, I got a homeboy right now, he raps or whatever, and he said for the longest time, he had a very hard time telling his testimony because he grew up in a great home, great parents, was taken care of and had a good life. And he was like, everybody else he was around was like, been through hell. And he was like, I don't want to tell my story because I feel embarrassed around them. They should tell theirs, not because I haven't been through anything. I'm like, well, bro, what's the stuff that God has brought you out of? Bro, tell that. Like, that stuff matters too. And what's the stuff that you didn't go through? Yeah. Tell that and celebrate it because that's important to know. Like, absolutely. We have the ability to like compare our story to somebody else's and not want to. Just comparison's a thief of joy, right? Not want to tell it because we feel like it's not worthy to be told next up to this person's success or their massive trauma. And if you've been through something and it hurt, that's real to you, just like this is real to them, and that needs to be honored and shared and healed.
And I think the crazy piece is the fact that regardless of what you're going through, somebody else is going through that same exact thing. Either they're going through it at the time or they've already been through that piece. And I think what happens is when people are too ashamed or they're still going through it, they don't want to talk about it or whatever, then you got to understand the person that may be attached to you may not get the healing that they need because at that moment you've chosen to kind of hold back and not talk about what it is that you've been through or what you dealt through. And I think ultimately there are people that are attached to your story. Like, and I don't think we, a lot of times you hear people that go through stuff, well, God, why me? Why me? Why me? Well, at the end of the day, you're going through it, and it kind of sucks, but you're still going through it, but you're going through it so somebody else, so you can tell somebody else how you were able to overcome what it is that they're dealing with right now. And I think a lot of times we kind of miss out because either, we're selfish or whatever the case may be. But understand that everybody in this room, not just us, everybody in this room has a story.
Absolutely.
If you're alive and breathing right now, you got a story. And you would be surprised at if you were to just tell your story, you would be surprised at how many lives you could impact and change just with what you've been through. And you may not think it's a lot, but for what you're going through, what you've been through, somebody else is dealing with that right now.
Absolutely.
And you never know what you might be able to help keep them from. Yeah. For me, it was, listen, man, it got to the point, I was depressed. I was ready to kill myself the whole night. Like, I was ready to do all that. I'm sitting at home listening to Teddy Pendergrass at 1 o'clock in the morning and listening to all these old love songs. And I'm just messing my head up and making it worse. And sitting here about to just off myself, just about to be done with life. I called my homeboy one time, and this is in the podcast. I called my homeboy and I told him, I said, listen, look, I see myself right now as my family was in Maryland at the time. I said, I see myself on the bridge going up to Maryland and two things. Either I drive off the side of the bridge or I drive into the oncoming traffic because I'm done. I'm just tired. I'm tired. And so he said, I get that. He prayed and everything. He said, he said, understand, man. He said, suicide. The crazy thing about suicide, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Because at the end of the day, if you kill yourself or whatever, you will never be able to get through what it is that you're supposed to get through. Because you're done at that point. Like, you're not living no more. And so one thing about situations and what we all go through, we all go through something, man. We all go through something, and you never know who you can impact, especially if you keep quiet. If you keep quiet, you're not going to be able to impact anybody. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to help. You want to be able to help people, man. Like, you want to be able to help the next person, the next man, the next sister, whatever. You want to be able to help them. And the only way you can do that is you gotta be transparent. You gotta be willing to share what it is that you're dealing with. And even if you can't share it without crying at the time, and I think that's the other thing, man. Like, especially you dudes. Don't nobody want to start telling their story. All of a sudden, they start snotting and they can't get through
I just did that a couple of Sundays ago, actually.
For real.
Did you see it? You talking about me right now?
No, I ain't see that.
Oh, okay.
I ain't see it.
No, but I see it. You're absolutely right. It's like, if you made it out of burning house, what you look like not going back in to save somebody else? You know what I'm saying? Especially if you know the way out. And you spoke about two things that we all can relate to. You had issues when you was a child. We've had issues when we were a child too. We've all had fathers, you know what I mean? And a lot of us spend our whole adulthood trying to fix stuff that happened when we was a kid. We try to correct things that got scarred and broken when we were children. So for you to talk about that, it's so many people that could be helped out with that. And also the father piece, that's why God is important. He's a direct reflection of what our earthly father is supposed to look like. So if you got issues with your earthly father, you may have issues with God because you don't understand that type of covering and authority. You feel what I'm saying? So it's important, and it's a lot of us that are in fatherless households, and that's, it's a sad situation. But that's why God is important, because he gives that example of what it's supposed to look like. He tells you what you really were made for, other than, the things that maybe some people, my stepfather used to call me everything but a child of God. So God already said who I was. So if I understood that, what he said don't matter. What nobody else don't say don't matter. Whatever anybody else says don't matter. If I was made in his image, he's God. I was made to be great. So I don't care what you're talking about. So to be able to speak those things is extremely helpful for everybody else, because you're not the only one going through it. And I think the devil wants to keep us feeling secluded, like we the only one, and in shame, because a lot of us are ashamed to say what happened to us. We feel, it's, again, especially if it's something like sexual abuse, we men, that don't happen. Ain't nobody messing. I don't even put my wallet in my back pocket. You know what I'm saying? We ain't doing that. So as men, we have a problem with that. But you'd be surprised. Every time I tell it, you'd be surprised how many men come up and talk to me. So please tell your story. Don't be ashamed. You ain't the only one. We all got dirt. We all are damaged goods.
We all got baggage.
We all got baggage.
We all got baggage.
But Cap, my bad.
Made by Cap. Hey, follow at Made by Cap, KAP. Follow him for more tips on how to film videos.
Yes, sir.
Is killing
I
it
didn't
on
know I was getting all that, but
Hey, man, I ain't gonna not shout you out.
Why not?
I ain't gonna not shout you out.
You know what I'm saying, on the
KAP.
Legin Podcast. Well, y'all saying so much, and I got my old wisdom came up to mind and whatnot. I want to say, first of all, I'm proud of all three of you brothers.
Appreciate you, Cap.
I know y'all too. I just know you from third episode, and that it's great to hear y'all actually being transparent to actually get that in return. You get what I'm saying? But a lot of people in this form of life, and this, that, and so forth, is tackling a lot of things that's coming at them. And when we find God, we basically, and I know I might be talking to somebody in this room. I don't want to act like I'm preaching, but I'm gonna have to tell you.
Better preach.
But
Preach,
but I actually feel that we have these expectations of certain people in our lives, certain things that we want in life, certain image that we want to carry. And I really feel that when we put and this is my saying, put the expectations on the shelf and get into the book, because he dials it down for you to look at the minute things that makes a stronger impact in your life, per se. You find God because you know a sense of family that you needed. You found God because you needed the glory. You needed to glorify how strong you are within the addictions and all the trauma that you had in your earlier lives. As for you, forgiveness, man, that phone call, minute. People just look right over that stuff. But when you take your expectations out, God dials you back. And I've been I'm a walking witness to that. You get what I'm saying? I haven't had it the bad life, but I bottle things up because I have been the man that actually had to be the man of the house at a very early age.
Gotcha.
You get what I'm saying? And when I had to do that, I realized I lived a grown-up life at the age of 19, having my own child, and ended up having a family, and then running my own apartment at age 19, this, that, and so forth, without the opportunities to go to college, without going to get the bar. You get what I'm saying? And got a chance to play basketball and so forth. So
Cap,
that's,
real
but go ahead.
quick, when you said expectations on the shelf, appreciate all you sharing. I'll make some noise for Cap real quick. Appreciate that. Was you saying expectations of perfection? Like, what were you meaning?
Yeah, expectations, meaning the fact
Of being perfect, of like what?
everything you want in life that's not happening for you,
Okay, I got you. All right.
when it's not working for you. Now, I know this can sound kind of hard, like you wanted your father in your life.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You expected that your father be there for you because that's 3.5 hour ride.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You expect your wife being with you. Your expectations there. So when it's not given to you, we gonna get run up. We gonna feel anger because it's like she supposed to be here. Why you ain't help? All the conversations come with the big question, why?
Yeah.
To the man upstairs, they ain't got a voice, but he gives you position. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I say put the expectations on the shelves.
I see where you're coming from now.
So you can dial back and you can see the small things that he gave you that's gonna make a huge impact in your life.
Got you. All right, Cap. I appreciate that, brother.
No problem.
So yeah, so like putting the expectation of if things don't go the way I mapped them out in my mind, if the vision doesn't come to pass the way I saw it, if life isn't healthy, if I get the bad phone call, and if these things go bad, that expectation doesn't change my view of A, God's goodness, or B, my importance in this story. All right? Okay, got you. That makes a lot of sense to me, bro. I appreciate you sharing it. So for the recording, Cap said, the one thing you have that nobody can control but you is your will. Right? You don't want to make the choice. You don't want to make the decision no matter what everybody's saying. You're the one that makes that decision of how you're going to do it. And you said something key in the beginning, go back to the book, right? So like you get all these opinions, you got your own thoughts, but what's the anchor? What's the barometer for where we're going to go for truth? And for me, it's the book. Like,
That's good.
Jesus is dealing with everything. He's like, hey, I mean, Jesus fighting with the devil in the wilderness. I'm sure he could have sent a Hadouken and blow him back, because that's how I think about life. Hadouken. But don't let me make a Jesus movie. That's gonna be way different. But
Jesus throwing
Hadoukens. But with the robe and everything. But like, but he said, all he did was say, hey, it is written, right? He just went back to the book. So appreciate that. Does somebody have something back there?
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Hey, what up, Phil? Y'all make some noise. Sunday Scoop in the building. Ice cream, best ice cream in Virginia Beach. Let me do a quick shout out.
Sunday Scoop,
I didn't know you said in here. Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all this right now. We ain't even said a word. December 11th on Monday.
Come on.
What we doing? 6 or 7? What we doing?
You said 6.
We said 6. It's probably gonna be 6. Show up early in case I'm wrong and it's 7. We're gonna be right there at Sunday Scoop live band show. I think we're gonna call it Scoop Sessions. We're gonna be in there jamming out. Y'all pull up, get some ice cream samples, and we're gonna be adding maybe, if he allows,
What was that, cookies on cookies? What was that you had? It was like a cream you put on that joint?
Yeah, we're talking about the legend, though. Somebody got a legend today.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. No, don't take my shine. We adding a brand new menu item to his menu called the Legend. Like literally. Like listen, there's a bunch of cool stuff you can do. Like sharing the gospel is cool and doing the podcast is cool. All that's fine. The most important moment of my life, we gonna add an ice cream menu at Sunday Scoop called the Legend.
That's dope.
And I'm not even joking. Show up December 11th, Monday, Sunday Scoop. What up, Phil? What's going on with you?
When I found out my story mattered, it's gonna go back to 2008 is when it started. So back in 2008, a girl said, "Hey, I'm pregnant." This is me in college down at ECU partying, and I'm like, "All right, cool, I got it. We gonna figure it out." 7 months into said pregnancy, she is like, "I'm gone," and then she just left. So now here she's gone with the baby that she said she was mine, and I don't know what to do. Do I follow? Do I chase? Who am I to follow and chase and find out the baby's not mine? Who just leaves when the dad said he's going to be there? So instead, I do nothing. And that's probably the worst decision I did in my life, of not knowing that I could have some blood out there. My daughter, who we named, went to her first sonogram and whatnot. I had the picture. It's the only picture I had of her. December of last year, I get a call. So this is me a year into my business, and I get a call, "Hey, Sophia wants to talk."
Wow.
But I carried this around with me for a really long time, knowing that I could have a child out there that's mine. So who am I to tell people or try to speak to people about how they're living what kind of father they should be, even though I am taking care of my 2 kids at home right now, but I still know there's a maybe out there. I met Sophia. I talk to Sophia on a daily basis right now.
Wow.
We chat. She is an honor student. She is a published author. She was one of 5 accepted into an academy that she goes to. The weird thing to me, though, is why her mom waited 15 years to approach me about this girl. And my thought was, well, is she in trouble? Do they need money? Do they think I'm doing better than what I am? Yeah, I got a business, but I'm still broke. I'm like broke. Yeah. You ever start a business, you're going to be broke for a while first.
Hey, bro, this is an honest podcast. I love this.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, you don't just open the doors and all the money comes falling in. No, you're trying to like tell the creditor, I'll get you back later, the check's in the mail.
Wow.
But anyway, like, it's so crazy because Sophia is so cool and is just so good of a person. And I'm so sad that I missed out and angry and bitter at Katie for taking that away from me, but bitter and angry at myself for not pursuing. But at the same time, just understanding that at the end of the day, me and Sophia got more time ahead of us than behind us. We always said we can't pick family. And it's weird being at the mercy of a 15-year-old who decides she wants to choose me. A week ago, she told me she loved me. Oh my God, I'm sitting here doing a little dance. So a lot of my journey, even who I am right now, was due to the fact that back in 2008, something happened. And at that time, I realized that I got to do better because one day this day will come when she finds me. And how she finds me is directly up to me. And what she found was somebody who's an Army veteran, somebody who has an MBA, somebody who has a business, a father or 2, a husband, a stable home. I had to build myself to be that image of what she's going to look for in a father when she comes looking for me. So that's what I'm giving her.
Hey, bro, y'all make some noise to Phil, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, brother, I did not know that, man. I respect the crap out of you for telling that, man. I ain't even know that.
Hey,
now y'all
so,
gotta
hey.
go buy ice cream from him. He just
Yes,
opened
sir.
up his
I was
whole
about to
heart
say, man.
to y'all. Y'all got to go get some Sunday school ice cream now.
You
gotta go
is
back.
Is your truck outside? Or because you just sold,
had you pull up with the
sold
truck.
a whole bunch of ice cream, bro.
Yes, sir. Hey, you just left a wedding. You was like catering with ice cream and shot over here. Didn't you just have an event or something? Filipino festival, man. I mean, all right. We're going to do that in just a second. Real quick, bro. When you were talking, I was reminded of a story in well, I won't say the state until I won't say that just because whoever hears this. But I was doing an event, and I told my story about my dad, which is, if I'm given space to do that wherever I am, I always tell that story. Because if you listen back to episode 2 or 3, there was a moment when I got ashamed of my story while I was in ministry, telling my story about my dad and seeing people get free and, oh man, I'm gonna call my dad and forgive him because you told. And I got embarrassed about it for some reasons, and I tucked it away for a while, and so I stopped telling it. But when I started telling it again, I was like, I'll never not tell this if I get a chance. So I tell it everywhere I go. And I was telling on stage at this event, and I talked about forgiving, and I broke down forgiveness, which I also think I'm gonna try to do tonight because I felt like that might be helpful. But I went to the back, and there's a lady back there bawling at the event. It's a couple hundred people at this joint, and lady's bawling, and I just go up to her, and I don't know what's going on, but I just give her a hug. She falls on my shoulder, and she starts crying, and she's a grown lady. She's like, hey, my child is here, and they're 15 years old. It's cutting to my mind when you're talking. And they're going through exactly what you went through right now, and I wonder, would you talk with them? And I said, I'll wait right here till you bring them. So they brought the kid, and she saw me and she started crying, and I asked her if it was okay if I gave her a hug, and she said yeah. And I said, what's the story? What's going on? And this is the opposite of how Phil's story could have went, right? Like, Sophia called and found a loving father who had his arms open and wanted to make things right and was trying to live good, and is like, I love you, right? That's the story. The other coin is this. This young lady, her dad had just left them and lived one city over and wouldn't come see him. And it was breaking this little girl's heart. And she was struggling. And she's like, what
what did I do, right? And she said, because you took the time. That's why you got to tell your story. Said, because you took the time to forgive your dad when you didn't have to, I'm going to call him and forgive him tonight. And I was like, all right. And I saw her the next day, and she said, I said, what happened? She like, I called him and I told him, no matter what you did or doing to me, I want you to know I love you and I'll forgive you anyway. And she said she heard him, because she said he's very rude, would, not talk much, came with a real quick guy. Said he choked up and started to cry on the phone and got off the phone real quick. I'll call you back. Click. Kind of got off the phone and ran away. And I was like, well, how you feel? She's like, I'm still hurt, but I feel so much lighter that I let it go. And I'll be here whenever he's ready. And that joint messed me up. Like, that happened this summer, and I'll never forget it. So you had Sophia, who pursues Phil, and found the arms, right? And the loving arms of a good father. And over here, this guy was running away, and his daughter pursued him and is pursuing him to forgive him. And he's struggling with even accepting it. The story can go one of two ways. But the beautiful part in there, man, is, Phil, I'm just grateful that you're the man you are. So when she did make that call, she found you. And I thank God for you, bro. I thank God for you. Eddie, Big Dog.
What's going on?
What's up, man? Can I do a plug for bruh real quick? No, you do the plug for bruh. I'll do it, and then you tell more. So bruh is Brothers Rising Up Healed. It's a group of, anybody's welcome, but it's a group of predominantly black men who are seeking Christ and helping each other heal and chase wholeness. And Eddie's one of the leaders in that group. I've had the privilege to hang out with him. It's led by my homie, Corey Jones, and I just love the crap out of these brothers. Any plug you want from bruh, go for it, and then say what you got to say. Eddie's a good dude.
So, well, it's part of my testimony, actually. We got kids in here, but I struggled with individual purity for a number of years. I would say almost 20 years. Struggled with individual purity from hitting puberty up until I was like around 31 or so. So almost 20 years I've been struggling with. I have struggled with individual purity, and it was kind of hard to really find, especially in the earlier days. Like I got saved in 2009, so it was very hard to find like spaces of recovery, like legit Christian-oriented, Bible-based, Christ-centered recovery. So I was actually serving. I had got licensed to preach under the Baptist Church a few years back. I got the license. My sermon was actually just simply the gospel, but that's another story. But due to that struggle that I had, I just didn't feel comfortable sharing it with the leadership that I was under. And I knew at that point it was time for me to go. And the Lord had revealed to me that I needed two things. I needed fellowship. Even it was crazy him saying that, because I was in a church. He was like, I need fellowship and I need discipleship. And 2 weeks after that, I met Faith Community Church over on Church Street, Pastor White. I got discipled there, and then he introduced me. Yep, Pastor Conley White.
That's
yep.
my guy.
Yeah, awesome. He called me a hypocrite, and that saved my life. I'm telling you, that at one statement, it saved my life. Hearing stuff like that, it saved my life. And after I got discipled, I started going to. I joined Faith, but then I ended up going to Grace Bible Church. It's a connect group over there, Celebrate Recovery, and started going through that process, going to therapy and things of that nature. And at first I was ashamed about it, but you just saying it is like your story does matter. And that's not the entirety of how I came to Christ, but once I came to Christ, I did have a struggle, and God brought me out of that. And now I'm married. I got 2 kids, a lot of different
there you
things
go.
going on.
Clap
So
it up.
God is good. So, yeah, and even that process was crazy, because during the engagement, I still had struggles, and the woman of God prayed with me, and we got through that. And I stand here and I can say confidently that the Lord has freed me from that. And the reason why my story matters is because it's just as Jesus did with Peter. He says, when you are converted or when you are restored, go and strengthen your brothers. And that is one of the things that is so key in bruh. Like even now, every day we have to report in the status, if you've ever fallen into sexual sin, if you've struggled in sexual sin, or if you're green, every single morning, even those of us who have been free for a long time. So it's one of those things that, because we know it's kind of like an unspoken problem among men that we just don't really want to talk about, and we don't want to face the reality of it. And then the climate and the culture that we're in, where we are getting bombarded with so much stuff from the internet and things of that nature. For my journey, I took internet out of my house. I had no internet in my house, had no social media, threw everything out and just I need to focus. And the Lord used that, and He's helping me help others.
That's good, Eddie. Y'all make some noise for Eddie, man. That's fine.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. Yeah.
So it came together at the end, but like the individual purity, we just talking about like sexual sin, like pornography, stuff like that. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we was up here because we was up here. He act like, well, I didn't know either, so I
trying to figure it out.
and
That's like individual purity.
yeah, we was like, what? All right, we got it now.
Hey, but I'm gonna say this too. I know it's got some people in here that's unchurched, and when we start talking that church talk and all that, you may get lost. I get it. But at the end of the day, there has to be a standard. If you want a better life, you want to change things ain't working like you need them to work, there has to be a standard. I know a lot of people like to go by the checks and balances of wins and losses. It's certain things that we doing, you obviously know that I'm not getting wins from this, bro. I need to do something different. So a lot of people like to say these days, it's my truth. Nah, there's one truth. You just choosing to think of something else, to do something else, and that's cool. But understand, even if you're unchurched, there is a standard you need to live for maximum responses, or maximum, what's the word I'm looking for your life to be better? Help me out. W's. If you want maximum W's, there has to be a good standard. There's some things that you do that don't work. And one thing I'll say about Christ and the Bible, and if you follow those principles, man, they work. Your life will be better. Even us as Christians, we talk that talk, but a lot of us don't follow it. But when we do, it works. There's a principle, and that's all we're saying. There is a standard. If there is no standard and there's multiple truths, there's chaos. Because some person may think, if you do me wrong, I'll shoot you in the face. That's their truth. But is that a good standard to follow? You feel what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is there has to be a standard. That's all we're saying, and Christ is our standard. And I know that those principles work for me. When I'm not following that standard, I see how things fall apart. I've seen the checks and balances for 44 years. So living that life, I can tell you what worked for me, and Christ is it. But go ahead.
Yeah, man.
That's all you got? Yeah, man?
All right. You guys, all right, one quick second. Got you. So Eddie, on what you said, man, I wanted to throw this out. I want to throw this out, and then we'll get my man, and then I'm going to break down like what I think is a healthy thought about forgiveness, and then we'll wrap for the evening. But I had the same situation, same struggle, same all that, like situation or whatever, like addicted to pornography. We talked about it in one of the episodes.
Me too.
Yeah, so we went through all that. And I had to do the exact same thing you did, bro. Like when I came to Christ at 21, and I was like, so smoking and drinking, like stuff like that was gone, right? But like addiction to pornography and chasing all that stuff, like it had hooks in me, bro, that I was like, why can I not drop this? And so I actually I cut everything out of my house. I threw away. I'm a music head. Like I rap. Like I love hip hop. I threw this is CDs, right? I snapped all my CDs. This is a long time ago, dating myself. Snapped all my CDs up, scratched them so I couldn't go get them out and put them back together somehow. I stopped going to the movies. I cut my TV off because I just couldn't risk seeing the stuff that had built neural pathways into my brain to tell me that this is supposed to trigger this type of response. Because this is what happens with pornography. And whether you've delved into that world, whether you're young and you haven't, and your parents are telling you watch what you watch, here's why they're saying that. Because when you watch certain things over and over and over again, the way your neural pathway works, as I understand it, every 90 days your brain cells reset.
And as you start to watch and trigger certain things in your mind and your memory banks, it starts to carve neural pathways into your brain. So as you see certain things, it triggers you to think that what you were looking at over here, that's what this is for. So you see a young lady a certain way, and it triggers you right here to this thing you've been watching every night. It triggers you to this thing that you're looking at every day on Instagram. It triggers you, and your brain starts to respond, and it starts to become a natural response to this stuff when that's not naturally how things are supposed to be. So everything that you watch and listen to and ride around, you are literally programming your brain that this is reality. Every time you listen to some lying rapper talking about all the black people they shooting and all the poison they selling, every time you watch some movie and somebody's blowing up and there's blood all over the screen, it used to bother you, now it doesn't. Every time you watch a sex scene in a movie, whether it's pornography or it's supposed to be PG-13, you're training your brain in those neural pathways. And I did that to myself for years. So I am not sitting up here in judgment. I'm sitting up here just saying this is what it is. And so I had to do the exact same thing. To this day, if I'm in the movies and I didn't know that they was gonna throw something up there that I ain't pay to see, I'm the weird guy in the back row, hoodie up, pull the strings. I don't want to see. I'm not playing with my brain no more. I don't watch it. I don't look at it. I don't do that. So I'm just saying all that to say I applaud you for the steps you took to do all of that. I don't care if you was 31 or not. Like, you went through the shameful steps of saying, I don't want to live like this anymore, versus tucking it away, which most of us do. And I applaud you for that, bro. You got to take them steps. You got to do that. Thank you, God. Big stuff. My brother, did you have something? It's EJ, right?
Yeah, this EJ.
Good to meet you, brother. I met you when you got started.
Yeah, I'm a new person from bro. I'm the newest person that joined bro.
There you go. Congratulations on joining bro. Proud of you.
Yeah, my story is this, coming up with no father and everything like that. You talk about coming up with no father. You know, so he was in and out of my life, you know what I mean? He was kind of abusive towards my mom and everything like that. You know, how tough that was, you know. And my mom cried at night, all that crazy stuff. You know what I mean? I was angry at God coming up. I was like, boy, there's a guy, why I'm going through all this? You know, hearing them argue, you know, all that stuff like that. So I was like, boy, my daddy doing this. So, you know what I mean? So one day, you know, I got tired of, you know, putting his hands on her, you know. You already know how that went. I snapped, lost it, scared my mom. You know what I mean? My mom told me, go to my friend's house, calm down and everything like that. But, you know, he eventually moved out and everything like that. And he came to see me at 18, you know, around 18, I graduated high school, and I've seen him walk in. My mom give me this look. She see my eyes. She know what I'm looking at. Out of the crowd, come like. And she give me that look. Because I wanted to, like, go up there and say something. But, you know, I let it ride. No. Then she called me, and I'm around the corner. I'm drinking because I'm depressed. Just graduated high school, depressed, you know. And my mom said, your dad want to talk to you. And I said, for what? I said, don't have him come around here. She like, why? I said, I'm drinking, Mom. No. So he came around there, bust him out. Eventually, you know what I mean, let everything die down. Came to the house, and then, you know what I mean, we was sitting there talking. And I told him, I said, Dad, you knew where I was at. And everything. You know, I was playing basketball, you know. You knew where I was at. You know what I mean? All you had to do was ask by the streets. You know what I mean? So I got older. And then I looked at him. I said, you know what? Bump all that. I forgive you. And you know what I mean? Everybody was like, what? You forgave your dad? I'm like, yeah, man, all that stuff. And he used to try to explain stuff. I said, bro, I don't want to hear that. I said, you all right? And then, you know what I mean? So I worked on my brother to forgive my dad. Because, you know, it hurt, you know what I mean? Because he had left. So I told him, I said, man, you got to forgive him. You know, he's like, man, what do you mean? I was like, you got to forgive him. Like, he did what he did, forgive the man. And you know what I mean? Because we was in church, I constantly kept hearing about forgiveness. I'm like, you know what he forget this dude? He didn't put his hand on my mom and everything. So, you know what I mean? So eventually I forgave him and everything. So as we got older, you know what I mean? He had deaths in his family and everything like that. So I told my brother, I called him, because when he had lost his uncle, I called my brother, it was about a year ago. I said, bro, we got to be there for him.
Wow.
And so, you know what I mean? It shocked him. You know what I mean? Because he was going through, he lost his uncle. And so I was like, yeah, we're going to be there. And he was like, what? I said, yeah, we're going to be there. I said, make sure you be there. They gave him the address, you know, we were there for my dad and everything like that. So to any youth that's struggling, forgiving their father, I tell them, like, you got to forgive them, you know what I mean? Gotta love him where he's at, because God loved you where you was at. So,
Big facts.
so that's where, you got to forgive him.
Big
And
facts.
also therapy helps, you know what I mean? He touched on therapy.
Yeah.
Mental health is a struggle, especially in the black community. We don't want to get help, but it's all right to get help.
Yep, Jesus in therapy. You ain't wrong
All
about
right.
that.
All right.
Hey, y'all make some noise for EJ. It's good stuff, bro. Thank you, man.
That's good.
I was about to ask you what made you forgive, but you said you were sitting in church, kept hearing it over and over again. It just kind of finally got to you, I guess. He said he got tired of that word. Let's go ahead.
When it comes to that piece, I had to think about all the people that I hurt. All the people I broke in houses. I would steal from people. I would do a lot of things. So there's somebody out there that I owe an apology. So if somebody was to come to me like my stepfather and ask for forgiveness, what do I look like? Not allowing him that opportunity. What makes me so much better? You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, I did get an opportunity to speak to my stepfather. He was, I think it was last year he died. He caught cancer in both lungs. He gave his life to Christ. And he called me and he said, at the time I was doing a television show. And he called me and he was like, hey, I want you to interview me. I was like, interview you? What you talking about? Ask me anything, man. He was like, I'm just trying to make things right. He said, I know I did some things. It took him a while to admit the things that he did, but he said, just ask me anything. I guess the mortality was looking at him, so he felt like he wanted to make things straight. So I started to ask him questions. I wanted to know why did you hate me so much? I felt like you hated me. And by this time, due to the fragmentation of my mind, I can't hold grudges because I don't remember a lot of I can't attach the emotions because I don't have the memories. I just know what happened. So I can have a straight conversation with him. So I asked him why he hated me. And he was like, I didn't hate you. What I came to find was, he said, that's how I was treated when I was younger. I felt like your mom then was treating you soft and I wanted to make you a man. That's his idea, twisted idea of what a man was. Don't make it right, but I got an explanation that you was treated like that too. And he told me some things that happened to him. And you know what I'm saying? So you're dealing with people who are broken, who end up having kids, and they ain't done repairing themselves yet. So they pass that drama to you. Right. So I had a good long conversation with him, and I ended up forgiving him. We laughed and talked just like grown men at the end of it all. And this is a person I hated, man. This person I really hated. But one thing I would tell you about forgiveness is like holding on to a hot rock, like being mad at people, because they still out living their life. But you holding on to that, and it's only hurting you. So at the end of the day, the only time you can get free of that is if you let it go. Because holding on to it don't do nothing to them. It don't do nothing better or beneficial for you. It's like a cancer that's gonna eat you up. You can't sustain that. So let it go, because I'm sure you got some things that you've done to people that you need to apologize for too. So it makes you no different.
That's good, bro. That's good. Make some noise for that. I'm gonna wrap up here. Jay, you got something, Sherman?
Nah.
That was a long no. All right. I'm gonna wrap up here, but EJ said it like, in so many words, if I heard you right, was like, I need to forgive you, because if the gospel is true, God was willing to forgive me when I didn't deserve it. So how dare I not forgive you when you deserve it? But show of hands in the room, would anybody admit forgiveness is a really hard thing to do? Show your hand. Okay. Oh, good. Honest saints. We got some on. Thank you. Appreciate you. So I've gone around. I don't consider myself an expert at all, but I've gone around talking about forgiveness for a long time, in different places, and I've come to find out, and I'm going to break these 4 things down. I think forgiveness is a 4-step process, and the reason why people struggle with forgiveness is because of steps 2 and 3, and thinking all of those are forgiveness, when I think forgiveness is 4 different things. Honestly, I'll tell you this story real quickly. I had a story about my dad, but I had a stop it. Stop. They joking me about the word quickly because they know I'm lying. It's not gonna be quick. But I had just gotten started in ministry, right? And we're at least figuring stuff out. And I went and worked at this church with this pastor. And I was warned not to, but I did anyway because he's like, hey, come run my radio station for me. So I did that. And I was, getting paid to do that. And I saw a bunch of like weird stuff. I had just come out of a bad situation in the work world where I was able to see what manipulative leadership looks like and what people taking advantage of people looks like. And so I started to see it really quickly with this guy. He just had a cross on when he did it. You know what I mean? And I was like, nah, I ain't got time for this. I'm not whatever. But I was like, that's his business. I'm gonna do my job. Y'all stay over there. I'm just not dealing with you. And I should have left, but I was like, yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. But I started to put on this event. And it was my first time producing like a Christian hip hop event. And I had a friend in Philly that was a rapper, in Jersey and North Carolina. And I said, yo, I'm gonna put on this big of concert. Come on through. We got this venue. I got the funding, like pull up. So I pulled together all these pieces. And around this time, the guy started to try to manipulate me and control me in certain ways. And I let him know, I was like, hey, bro, I seen what you're doing to all them. I'm not one of them. I ain't got time for it. I'm just here to do this show to bless the community. Keep that over there. And when he saw that he couldn't like control me, because I had just come out of a situation where I did get manipulated and controlled in the business world, he started to pull back. And it was right when the show was about to go down. So like all the agreements had been done, the credit card was on file for the rooms, people was coming in town. And so to get me back, what he started doing was pulling his card off of like the hotel rooms and all that. So people was pulling up in town at like 1 a.m. to check in their room, and it's like, we don't got no room for you. And then they calling around like, Legend, what's going on? Da, da, da. I was like, nah, I sent you the receipt, like everything's good. And I realized at that point I had put it in the palm of his hand and I shouldn't have done that. So what he did was he pulled up at the last minute like, I'm sorry guys, I got y'all. Legend was supposed to cover this. Let me go ahead and he just, I'm talking about next level capital snake stuff.
Petty, wow.
Filthy level, like, just dirt all in his mouth like snake stuff. Crazy, I ain't even pulling. So this happened the entire day of the show. Like, people was like, bro, what's going on? And I'm explaining the situation, like, bro is trying to snake me. I just wanted the show to happen. I wanted to bless this community, and I'm dealing with all this hell in the background. It's like, well, don't worry, we still gonna pull up, we still gonna put on for Christ. A lot of artists go through a lot of mess in the background sometimes when they trying to make stuff happen. So all this is going down, and bro wouldn't even pick up my call. You know what I'm saying?
What you said his name was?
I ain't say his name.
Oh.
Don't try to set. This is recorded, Jay. Chill. More snake activity on the left side of this couch. So
Put him in the Cobra clutch.
Cobra cow over here. To make another long story short, he had planned another event right next to mine just to draw attention away from it. And it was going on at the same time. I mean, it was just all this. It was really weird. Like, he put so much work into, like, hurting me. I was like, bro, you could have just did this and we could have cut ties at the end. Anyway, everything worked out that day. We had a conversation and everything worked out that day. The event went on despite everything, and Christ was preached, and we had a good concert and people jumped around. It was a great time. But I'm saying all that to say, I left that event, I left that situation, I left that agreement, and I hated this man. I literally had daydreams of very bad things happening to him. And I'm in the faith, and I was like, Lord, I want this man to get in a car crash and burn. I'm not at all exaggerating that this is like actual thoughts in my mind. There's no excuse for it. I'm ashamed to say it out loud, but I know I ain't the only one in here. And what happened was I had to pray. I said, God, I know I'm not supposed to feel this way. I know I'm new here. I'm new in the kingdom. I don't know. I only know where the key's at. I'm new here. I'm not supposed to feel this way, but I really feel this way. I don't know what to do. And I'm not going to claim an audible voice said anything, but I really felt God said, you need to pray. So I got down on my knees and I prayed. And I said, God, I pray that in the name of Jesus, you get him back for everything he did to me. and another nudge. I'm not going to claim it was an audible voice. There was pray for him, not at him, not against him. Pray for. And that was one of the hardest things I had to do, was literally pray for my enemy. And I started to pray. I was like, God, I'm going to pray this until I mean it, because right now I feel like I'm lying. But I do pray that you bless him. I pray that you take care of him. I don't want him to take advantage of anybody. I'm not praying for that. I pray you would stop that. But I pray, God, that this is when I learned to pray for my enemy. Like, I pray that he repents and turn around so he doesn't have to pay for what he's doing. Because I don't want him to have to pay for what he's doing. I hope he fixes what he did wrong, and I hope he repents, because if he's got to face you with the stuff he's doing, that's something I don't want on my worst enemy. I pray he repents. And I started to pray. And eventually what happened was I stopped hating him. I went from not hating him to all right, cool, man. I don't want to see him or nothing, but to my prayers turned to tears where I was crying. God, man, please let this man get it. He could do so much good if he could turn. And I never forget that season of my life where I was praying for this guy I hated every day, and I changed. I have no testimony that he did, but I changed. My thing here is Jesus was real serious when he said, pray for your enemies and take care of those who persecute you. There was some wisdom in that, because it was like, this is not just for them. This is for you. Because if you have a heart of bitterness, Jesus also says in a bunch of other places, your prayers get hindered if you out here withholding from other people the very thing I'm trying to give to you. So when I'm saying all that to say, I learned about, and that situation never got resolved, by the way. We never had a conversation. We saw each other one time in the store, and we both saw each other look and walk the other way. And there was no conversation. There was no, nothing. And I always God, if I was a more mature man, I would have went up and said, bro, I don't like you, but I forgive you. I really always pray for that. I didn't have the opportunity to, because, and I won't have that chance when some things happen. But he passed away. But I did pray for him. And I prayed Lord, I hope that he turned around and became who he needed to be before that happened. When it did happen, I didn't have any malice. But the reason why I'm throwing all this out there is because I wanted to let you know real quick I've learned that there's 4 parts to forgiveness. And unless my co-hosts or you guys have anything to say, we'll wrap up here. So if you do have something, feel free to chime in. This don't have to be the end, but I want to honor your time. There's 4 things of forgiveness that I want you to hold dear to you. And hopefully this helps you if you have a forgiveness journey to deal with. Number 1, there's forgiveness, there's justice, there's trust, and there's reconciliation. Those are 4 different things. Forgiveness is very simply letting the debt go. It's letting the debt go. It's you've offended me. You stole $5 from me. You said this to me wrong. You did this wrong. And you owe me the debt of making right what you did to me. You need to pay me back. You need to apologize. I need to see you suffer a little bit. You owe me that debt, whatever we think it is. The beauty of forgiveness is it's a one-way street. Whether I get the debt paid back or not, whether you apologize or pay me back, at any moment, I have the power to forgive and let that debt go. And it no longer has any power over me. Because Trevor said it earlier, if I'm expecting you to pay me back a debt that you don't pay, I'm carrying that debt around and you out here living your life and living in my head rent free. You know what I mean? And you don't even think about it. You don't think you owe me anything. You're like, man, that wasn't that bad. Let it go. What's wrong? And I'm sitting here mad about it, going to sleep about it, thinking about it at night, waking up in the morning thinking about it, because I haven't let the debt go. And if you never say I'm sorry, I have the power to say, you know what? I forgive you anyway. Now, I hope you apologize, but you may not. That's forgiveness. It's always in my hands. Justice is getting the debt paid. You see, you got the difference? That's when you do say, hey, man, I stole $5 from you. Let me get it back. That's when you do apologize. That's when you do make it right. And I pray that happens. It should happen. You should chase justice. But if it don't happen in this life, you still have the power to forgive. Number 3 is trust. Because remember this, somebody said this, it changed my life. Forgiveness is given, trust is earned, right? If somebody has apologized and made and done things right, that doesn't mean you have to trust them. If they're the same person, if they're still likely to say something crazy, they're still likely to hurt you again, you don't got to trust them. You ain't got to let them back in your house. You can let them go. You can forget them from over there. You know what I'm saying? But and the reason why I did that was because I was talking about this at this school auditorium one time, and this girl came down and said to me, okay, so in order to be a good person and forgive, that means that the person that abused me, I need to let them back into my life and get it, and because that means I didn't really forgive them. I was like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying if you can let the debt go, and you still need to call the police. You know what I'm saying? Like, call the police. Why you forgive them? But you don't have to trust them. If they might do it again, stay far away from them. Like, you don't have to let them back into your life. Now, if they are turning into a different person, and you're like, you know what? I want to give you the opportunity to earn my trust back. Let's go out to coffee. I'm gonna let you come by. We can go hang out. But I'm still kind of like, you give them the right to earn your trust back, and then you have the power to give them your trust. But they have to earn that. Does that make sense? Or if you're the offender, you say, I would love the opportunity to earn your trust back. I'm a different person. I've changed. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like this. But when you lump all that together in the forgiveness, people feel like, I can't forgive if they don't give me my justice, and I'm never going to trust them again. You can forgive. Those are two different things over there. Does that make sense? Is this convoluted? Does that make sense? All right. And the last thing is reconciliation. Reconciliation, it ends with a two-way street. This is both of us deciding that we're going to pursue the relationship that we want to make better and get over this hump we have. Both people have to choose to do that. You can't have the last three without the first one, forgiveness, right? But you can have forgiveness without the last three. The goal, biblically and in life, is to get to the reconciliation phase. If they pay back the debt, if they earn your trust, and y'all want to reconcile and make the relationship better on the back end of this mess than it was on the front end, man, praise God, that's a glorious goal. But if it doesn't happen, you still have the power to forgive and not let people walk around in your head rent free. Does that make sense? So those forgiveness, justice, trust, and reconciliation, I hope that helps.
And the forgiveness is more so for you
Absolutely.
than it is for the other person.
Yes, sir.
So the worst thing in the world is you holding on to something, you'll forgive somebody, and you down go to hell, and the person that you couldn't forgive, they go to heaven. Like, you held on to this all this time, but because you couldn't forgive that person, you're the one that died with that unforgiveness, and you down go to hell, and then the person that you couldn't forgive, they living their best life up there in heaven. And the other thing, and you said something, if you're genuinely praying for somebody and you're praying for them the right way, then ultimately it's really hard to really pray for somebody and not forgive them. And when I say that, like, I can't pray for somebody, really, really pray the way that you're supposed to pray.
Sincerely.
And not really mean it and still hate that person or still not forgive them. Because if I'm really praying the right way that God wants us to pray, then that's going to change my heart towards that person. But
That's big facts.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna let it roll. But one of the hardest things for me to do was to reach out and forgive the family member that molested me. I got in contact with him because, I was going to therapy and all of that, and I just wanted to kill him last week. So I told him, I said, bro,
I mean 2019. You don't mean like
no, not last week. I'm good now.
No, he said
last week.
Well, any prayer warriors in the house? Cause this
I'm good.
Can't admit that stuff on camera. Good Jesus, boy.
I'm good.
I booked the flight and everything. It was gonna be at 11:30 a.m.
Where's your no?
Nah, I'm good now. I'm living peacefully now. But I reached out to him because I felt like that I was carrying him every day. I had to get it off me. And before I did it, I knew however he respond, I don't care how he respond. This for me. So I reached out to him. I told him, I said, bro, I was gonna come down there and get rid of you, bro. This was on my mind. But I decided to just forgive you. Whatever happened to you to make you do that, whoever did that to you, whatever happened, I hope that you're able to work that out, because that's what I'm doing. So I forgive you, and I hope the best for your life, and I left it at that. His response, because he knew that I had people felt like I got a few screws loose at home. So he was like, oh, nah, man, I don't know how you formulated that in your mind, man, that ain't never happened. I didn't even respond. I left it at that. So we didn't reconcile.
Got you.
But I gave him the forgiveness. I got that off of me, bro. That was a heavy weight off of me.
Freedom.
Bro, it was a heavy weight off. I didn't expect the weight that came off of me.
Yeah.
And I'm free from that, man. I don't know what he got going on. That's not my business. I forgave him and let him roll.
But you gave him the chance to get
I
free
gave him the opportunity.
Yeah, because he could, at some point, forgive himself.
Absolutely.
One more. We got we got two. Here we go. What time we talking about? Let's see where we at. I got to respect the people's time. And I want to wrap up with some. Hey, we good.
Okay.
Y'all,
Hold on, wait a minute. This is my wife. Hold on.
don't you,
Wait, hold on.
don't get in trouble,
Hold,
okay?
wait, hold on.
Hey, you have the floor,
Is the
T. Come on, sis.
Camera still.
All right, cool.
Go ahead, baby.
We'll
With your fine
keep
self.
it to say what you got to say. Keep it to a minute
With
or
your
two
fine
to respect the people. Go ahead, T. Sorry.
I'm gonna be very quick.
Tell all the T.
I don't want
Spill
to
it.
tell. I don't want to tell my story because I would need my own podcast for my story.
Okay.
But I will tell you this. I was in a service one day, and the atmosphere was right in that service. And as I sat down in that service, all of a sudden, and literally as soon as I sat down, I began to cry. And as I'm sitting there crying, I heard the Lord tell me, I am healing you of all the things that you have gone through. And then what he did was he started to name them. He named all the things that he was healing me from that I had dealt with as a kid, in my marriage, in my life, just growing up. And I believe that that is what the Lord is doing today. He is healing. Why? Because the atmosphere is right. And so that was what I wanted to say, that when you're in the right atmosphere and in the right position, there is opportunity for healing. And so the things that have been mentioned today, the things that have been said, a lot of people in here have experienced, have dealt with, maybe not have dealt with it in those manners, but some things haven't even been said that you dealt with. But because you're in the right atmosphere and you're in the right presence, the Lord is healing you today. And I challenge you to receive the healing. All I had to do was receive it. As I heard the Lord telling me, I'm healing you, and he would actually take me back, and I can see myself at that point in my life, and he said, that right there, I've healed you from that right there. Write it down. It was 4 pages. By the time I was done crying and writing all at the same time, it was 4 pages long of all the things that the Lord was healing me from. And I do believe that that is exactly what the Lord is doing today. He is causing healing to happen for every individual person in this room. Whether you believe it, whether you see it, whether you understand it or not, he is healing you from your hurts, from your pains, from your disappointments. All those things that have happened to you and you said, Lord, why? He said, why not? Why not you? I chose you. You can handle it. But in the process, I'm healing you. Receive the healing that the Lord is giving forth today.
All right, Prophetess T. Thank you, T. Hey. No, I came up black church. Hey. All right. Appreciate that. You knew she was serious, too, because she turned back and scanned the whole crowd. And he's healing you and you. She looked at everybody. Thank you, T.
That's good.
I would say this too, man. And we're wrapped here. We're done.
The real rap.
The real rap. Like this is the preacher. Like I'm done in 5 minutes. This is that one. I'm done. Don't feel the pressure to perfect forgiveness.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? Don't feel the pressure to perfect it. What do I mean by that is a lot of people feel like forgiveness isn't real if their emotions don't line up with the activity. So a lot of people say, hey, forgive and forget. If you didn't forget, you didn't forgive. I don't think that's physiologically possible to do. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you can, right? If you can, great. But because you can remember and it still hurts and you still have feelings attached to it, as long as you let the debt go and you're working out the process of like, hey man, next year I'm gonna keep walking this out. I'm gonna keep praying for you. I'm gonna keep. When I think about it, I still get a little angry sometimes. Like why? But I'm gonna keep. Like don't try to perfect it. Just walk out the steps and do it. 'Cause you're gonna be a different person a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now than you are today. And the way you feel today is not the way you're going to feel right then. But the forgiveness can still be real if you're like, hey, I let the debt go. I'm not expecting you to pay me back. I'm not waiting for you to get it together. I'm not waiting for you to say I'm sorry before I let this go. Right? Same situation you just had, right? So you don't have to perfect. You don't have to be the perfect emotion. You can just let it go and walk out all those. And because you still have the memory, because you still have the thought, that doesn't mean you didn't forgive. A lot of people get stuck and they say, I can't forgive because I still can remember. That's fine. You got a brain. You have memories. That's going to happen. But don't try to perfect it and don't beat yourself up because you're not in a perfect place. Offer yourself the very same grace that you're trying to give them and that God is giving you. Now, you got to forgive yourself sometimes. Forgive yourself for not forgiving well. And then go forgive. And fall down, scrape your knee, get up, do it again tomorrow. But just don't try to perfect it. That's another pressure I see on people. Do it. Like, listen, Jesus said some very strong words about it. But I don't think he was saying, until you perfect it, you're not in my good graces. I think he was saying, if you're not willing to offer the very thing I'm giving you, then you don't understand the gospel in the first place.
Right.
That's what I think he was saying. I think you can very much be in the kingdom of God and struggle emotionally here and all that stuff. That's part of sanctification. That's growing daily. So keep doing it and don't worry about Does that make sense? Y'all with me? All right, cool. So make sure I was helpful. I mean, I think we done, y'all. What you think?
I think so.
What you think, Jay? It's not done to you.
Yeah, I think we good, brother.
All right, we done then.
Yeah,
all right, was this a good episode? Did y'all have fun with this? All right. I appreciate you, man. I do.
Hey man, thank you so much for watching this episode. Do me a favor. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Go to the show notes, do all the things, and let us know what you're feeling because we'd love to hear from you. Appreciate you.